Alright guys, TacticalRabbit here, and I know I'm a little bit late to the party on this one, but 100 Thieves have made a huge announcement bringing in Slasher and Enable to finalise their Call of Duty team alongside Kenny, Pharaoh and of course Octane that was announced a couple of weeks back. This is a crazy move. I don't think a lot of people saw this coming. Enable was definitely a potential. Codburner said he wanted to join, and also that would be the trio from the old Team Caliber crew to not only guarantee the pool play spot for Vegas, but also guarantee a core on a team that you know works well together. Then on top of that, you're taking off accuracy from that core of Kenny, Pharaoh and Enable. That you can see their results here. Of course, they come second at the Call of Duty World Championships and they win the Call of Duty Stage 2 Pro League playoffs. They had a pretty dismal result at Anaheim, but after that they really turned their team around after they swapped out methods for Enable. Then you take accuracy off that team, who is a great AR on that game. You put in Octane and Slasher. These guys arguably, or almost certainly, two of the top 3 assault rifles of the last 3 years. Probably Slasher's up there number 1, maybe Formal as well. Then Octane is probably in the 3rd spot above the rest. So stacking your team with ARs like this is something that we really haven't seen before. Isn't really possible in a 4v4 setting, so we'll have to see how it works out. Not really any other teams have gone down this route, it seems, but I think it really could work, especially with Slasher's particular playstyle. I guess you could also say that that's kind of what Optic were forced to do for the second half of the season, with Octane and Methods on the team. Both slow, steady, very strong structural assault rifles. Whereas Slasher is a different type of player entirely. He's really up in your face and very aggressive with the assault rifle. And that's why I think the dynamic of this team could work perfectly. So firstly, let's talk about the search and destroy potential of this team. I talked about Optic Gaming's new roster a couple of days ago. That was all about the search and destroy, bringing in Dashy and TJ to up the search and destroy game. These guys are arguably on another level. Of course, Enable, known for his poor S&D play, he had something like a 0.4 when TK won Stage 2 playoffs, something incredible like that. But they still won the tournament, and that's with 3 incredible search and destroy players. You add a 4th in Slasher, and Enable just needs to carry the bomb, and these guys are going to beat you 6-3 every time. So these are the search and destroy stats for last season, courtesy of CODCompStats.com. So the respawn KD for Slasher, obviously ridiculous. Enable is down here at a solid 1.02, Pharaoh at a 1.01, but Pharaoh really come into his own in the latter half of the season. I did talk about the potential of these guys in a previous video, so I won't go too in depth on Kenny and Pharaoh today. Now, of course, in the respawns they have potential, but Search and Destroy should be spectacular. Slasher is such an all-around fantastic player that his Search and Destroy often is kind of slept on. He has a 1.24 in Search over 114 maps. Dashy only slightly eclipses him in the KD, but has way less maps played. So Slasher here, 114 maps, 1.24 KD. Miles away of anyone really with the same amount of maps played than him last season. Octane down here at a 1.16, Pharaoh at a 1.18, Kenny at a 1.1. You have to scroll a long way down to find Enable at a 0.8, but you can have a 0.8 on your team if your boys are dropping these sort of figures. Of course, Pharaoh, known for his superb sniping capabilities. Octane as well was the main sniper for Optic Gaming in the latter half of the season. So you've got Pharaoh and Octane as your potential sniper duo, finding your opening picks. Slasher is going to be very solid, an incredibly smart player. And then, of course, you got Kenny. Superb gun skill. He's probably going to be leading the line. And then Enable. What does he really have to do for this team to be insane in Search and Destroy? So, people were talking about how good Optic Search is going to be. I think 100 Thieves Search, if the game is nice and strategical and not just head-bashing a site, these guys should be the best in the game. Now, in terms of roles, it's certainly not traditional, right? You've got Kenny, of course, the best SMG out of the World War II season. Almost certainly the best player throughout the entire year when you consider the championships he won. The role he played, the eye test, you could say, tells you a lot about his play. The 2 pieces, the 3 pieces, all over the place. You could tell this kid was a god. They pick him up early, fantastic pick. I love the pairing with Pharaoh as well. Pharaoh was using the assault rifle in more of a flex role earlier in the year, but towards the latter part of the season after Enable joined, Pharaoh was still kind of a flex, but a lot of the times using an SMG and putting up numbers with that. Enable was also using the SMG towards the end of the season, and that's probably what you'll see here. I would be very surprised if the maps in Black Ops 4 played where you need 3 assault rifles, unless it's really AR heavy, which I wouldn't put my money on, especially towards the latter half of the season. probably only 2 assault rifles max, so Pharaoh, Enable and Kenny will all have to use SMGs more than likely, and I think that'll be just fine for these guys. Pharaoh showed superb promise and pairing up with Kenny in that secondary SMG role towards the end of the season. And Enable can also do that if required. It's yet to be seen really how 5v5 will play out, where the 5th player sits in terms of roles, whether he's another support SMG or whether he plays heavy objective. We'll have to see what game modes are even played to see which way that will go, but on the face of it, this team is insane. I think almost somewhat underrated. There are obviously some potential chemistry issues, which I'll talk about in a second, but that trio of Kenny, Pharaoh and Enable, they were arguably the best core 3 towards the end of the season. Pairing them up with 2 of the top 3 assault rifle players from the last 3 years is just madness on a team. And these guys have surely got to be right at the top, if not just below the top of the power rankings of squads right now. The pedigree is crazy here. Now, of course, some people might question the Enable pick, but Kenny talked about in an interview how Enable really added a lot of needed leadership to that squad that they didn't have previously towards the end of the season. And I think that that's something 100% necessary with Slasher on the team. People talk about Slasher's toxicity, or however you want to describe it, the Envy team at the start of this season. He didn't really have another player on that team who he was able to have a really good conversation with about leadership. It was kind of like him and his troops behind him. On the successful teams that Slasher's been on, he's had another strong character alongside him to help lead, because Slasher knows how he wants to play the game. He has leadership characteristics in his own right, but with another person alongside him, like the JCap of the World Championship Envy squad back in 2016, and this season with Looney, where of course he won 2 championships under Rise Nation, he needs another strong character in leadership like that to, at least from my estimation, ensure he doesn't blow the team apart. So with Kenny, Pharaoh, young guys like that, Octane doesn't really have any particular leadership qualities as it seems the teams he's been on in the past. So Enable will really have to step up to the plate in that aspect, and I think if him and Slasher can get on well, then there's so much potential in this team. On paper, a player like JCap would have maybe been a better fit than Enable, considering JCap's played with Octane before, played with Slasher of course, as I said, in the Black Ops 3 World Championship winning team. But they have Enable, it's a strong core with the rest of the team, that's the route they went down, and it should work out fine. Pharaoh has definitely had some sort of attitude problems, but I think towards the end of the season those were really being ironed out, and he was probably my MVP of Stage 2 playoffs, played phenomenally. And if we see more of the same into the Black Ops 4 season, these could for sure be your team to beat. So like and subscribe if you enjoyed, share your thoughts down in the comment section below. To end the video, I wanted to do a bit more of a personal update. This week I'm going back to university for the 2nd year, so I definitely won't have as much time to make videos that I have been. Pretty much been doing one every day for the last couple of weeks, so I definitely won't have the time to keep doing that. Hopefully I'll be able to keep up with the Rostermania stuff as much as I can. After it's over, I'm not 100% sure what sort of content I'm going to be uploading, at least until the first event happens. I'll hopefully be doing a podcast, get some of the professionals on to have a chat about the goings down of Rostermania and what their expectations are for the upcoming season. If you have any other ideas of content, leave them down in the description below. I'm happy to try whatever you guys are interested in. I'm sure I'll find some things to upload, but I definitely won't be doing 5-6 videos a week. It'll be more like 2, maybe on the previous videos. It's been doing great, and I hope you'll stick around after the Rostermania stuff to see whatever else I have in store. So thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you next time.